Hi, my name is Tony Bloch. I'm currently the chair of the mathematics department at the University of Michigan. I would like to take this opportunity to congratulate all of you. I really wish I could do this in person. Unfortunately, this year we will have to make do with a virtual congratulations and a virtual graduation ceremony. However, this does not diminish the greatness of your achievement. I know that it is no non-trivial matter to get a mathematics degree from the University of Michigan, and that you've all worked very hard to do this. So I do want to say that we really appreciate your achievements and are very proud of you, and I hope you too are proud of all that you have done. So I want to wish you all the very best for the future. I hope you will find a great use for your mathematics degree, and please let us know about it. Send us messages letting us know how you are doing and how you're using your mathematics degree. Please come and visit us in person. I really hope you will be able to do that soon. So I want to wish you the very best. I do hope you have a wonderful, exciting and relaxing summer. I hope you have a great career ahead of you. And as I say, we really want to hear about your achievements in the future. So once more, my congratulations. I think you have done a wonderful thing, and it has been great having you here at the University of Michigan with us. All the best.
Welcome to the Mathematics Department's annual commencement ceremony. My name is DeBacker, and I am the undergraduate program director for the department. For those of you who have never met me, I'm also the person who sends out the weekly math missive every Thursday. So traditionally at this event, we individually recognize and honor all of the students graduating from the math department, be that math minors or math majors, or their master's students and the PhD students. It's also a time for us to meet with our students' support networks, their friends, their families. And finally, it's a time for us to wish the students well as they go out into the real world. None of that is possible this year due to COVID. So this video is going to be the replacement for the usual pageantry. Before continuing too far along, I thank the undergraduate office. They put in an enormous amount of work over the last year to make it possible for things to run and also for y'all to graduate. So these people include Kelsey Archibald, Christina Serto, Madeline Ingles, and Jessica Randolph. I particularly thank Christina Serto for producing this wonderful video that we're all watching right now. And I think it's appropriate that we all show our appreciation by giving them a round of applause. The graduates we are honoring today have been with us for a few years now, and during that time, we hope that they have found the experience to be both rewarding and challenging. In fact, if we did our jobs as instructors and mentors properly, then the few years wasn't just a series of interesting intellectual exercises, but rather we've actually imparted to the students some very serious lifelong skills. Things like perseverance, how to continue working at a problem for a very long time. Critical thinking skills, how to look at the available evidence, decide which is correct, and then how to reason from that correct evidence to a good conclusion. Problem solving. Your boss says you can have A as your starting point, but you have to get to B. Well, how are you going to do that? Making the path from A to B is basically what math people do all day. And finally, writing skills. So for the non-math majors, you might be a little surprised by this statement of writing skills, but let me assure you that math majors do more writing than almost every other major on campus. Once you leave those computational classes, the Calc 1, 2, multivariable and differential equations, and start your career as a full-fledged math major or minor, then you enter these classes where you're required to, the teacher says you can assume this, and now you have to write down all the reasons to get to the desired conclusion based on what the teacher gave you. This is a hard skill to learn, and it takes years, and it's very important, and it involves a ton of writing. So yes, there's plenty of writing here. Traditionally, at this juncture in the commencement ceremony, I would talk about how these, perseverance and analytical thinking and such are going to be useful for you. But instead, I want to talk about more germane things. So currently, of course, we have COVID-19, which is making it so that I'm talking to you through this video rather than in person. But, we also have all around the world various social justice issues that are crying out for our attention. I want to say something about those by talking about one of my favorite dead presidents, Abraham Lincoln. So you may or may not know that Abraham Lincoln was a huge fan, I guess is the right word, of Euclid. In fact, if you believe what Lincoln himself said, then he actually took a year off in his early life to just go read the geometry parts of Euclid's Elements. It heavily influenced him. He explicitly references Euclid quite often, and you can see in his arguments that the way they're structured just like Euclid. Here's what I'm assuming, here are my reasons, here's the conclusion. Moreover, and something that's kind of relevant to us today, he did something very interesting in the Gettysburg Address. So for those of you who are from the United States, or not from the United States, I should say, the Gettysburg Address is something that pretty much every high schooler has to memorize. It's a very short address that Lincoln gave after the Battle of Gettysburg during the Civil War. So the Declaration of Independence of the United States says something like, it is self-evident that all men are created equal. This is a wonderful ideal, which the United States has often failed to live up to. In the Gettysburg Address, Lincoln changed this self-evident truth that all men are created equal to the proposition that all men are created equal. And this shift is quite interesting. And if you read the surrounding text, or remember what the surrounding text says, what he's saying is that, in fact, it's not an axiom that all men are created equal. It's something we have to work for continuously, to recognize and to understand. And that work is not done. It did not end at Gettysburg. It continues to today. And so I encourage you to think about this, and to think about what your role in our society is, and how you might be able to use your math skills, your hard-earned math skills, to better achieve this idea. So during your time with us, you've learned all kinds of things, like every real symmetric matrix is orthogonally diagonalizable, or the uniform limit of integrable functions is integrable. These are all the kinds of things that you have learned from us. It's a little bit hard to convince anyone who's not a math major that you've actually learned something. So let's do something a little bit different. So let's demonstrate that you've actually learned things by telling a series of jokes. And by telling these jokes, show that you actually have increased your mathematical sophistication. So when you were in middle school, the following joke was something that you could readily understand. So why was 6 afraid of 7? Exactly, because 7 ate 9. Sometime in late high school or early college, you took calculus, and you learned how to appreciate the following joke. So a bunch of functions are having a party. E to the x is over being a wallflower standing by himself, drinking his soda. And another function comes up to the e to the x and says, "Hey, e to the x, don't stand here being so lonely. Why don't you come out with us and integrate?" And e to the x looks sadly up at the function and says, "Doesn't matter, wouldn't change anything." Then you got to Michigan, and you took a class like linear algebra. So what do you call an eigensheep? A lamb, duh. See, your sophistication has definitely increased, and you've learned things while you were at Michigan. So it is now my pleasure to introduce the Associate Chair for Education, Kristen Moore.
Welcome to the Mathematics Commencement Ceremony. My name is Kristen Moore. I'm the Associate Chair for Education in the Math Department. Commencement is such a joyful and special time here in the department. It's really a high point of the academic year. I'm so sorry that we can't celebrate together in person. I think many of us will agree that online teaching and learning is simply not the same for many reasons. Nonetheless, you all have pushed through 2.5 semesters of this format, culminating in a long slog through the winter 21 term without a proper winter break. So I'm especially proud and happy to welcome you to this celebration. Congratulations to the graduates and your families for this outstanding achievement. In the face of all of our current challenges, you have earned a degree from a prestigious university that's renowned worldwide. U of M has top-ranked programs, celebrated and decorated faculty, and incredibly bright and talented students. You have exciting options ahead of you. Some of you will continue on to graduate study or work directly in mathematics, where you'll regularly use specific course content that you encountered during your time at U of M. Others of you will go on to areas where you might never encounter, say, the contents of Math 412 or Math 451 again. A few years down the road, epsilon, delta, and the difference between pointwise and uniform convergence will be just a dim and distant memory. In the College of LSA's mission and tradition, we state that we deliver a purposeful, pragmatic liberal arts education that provides students with adaptable skills to solve problems in an era when new fields disappear as quickly as they emerge. As students of mathematics, you've learned to ask questions, formulate problems, solve them, and communicate solutions. You've learned to construct an argument that takes you from point A to point B in a series of logical, defensible steps, using what's already known and using no more and no less than what's necessary. Whether your path takes you deeper into mathematics or far afield, this is extremely valuable training. Your analytical skills and ability to think like a mathematician will serve you and distinguish you from your peers from other disciplines, even if you never have to prove another theorem. Congratulations and go blue.
Dear math community, when the call went out for commencement speeches, I couldn't resist it. I'm a big fan of commencements. I've attended my graduating friends' commencements every single year since I was 9 years old. But even through my young eyes, every speech seemed cliché. So as a joke, I seriously considered generating this speech through an AI, feeding in keywords like "my grandmother said" or "today is a great day." But then I thought again, and I swore when I gave my commencement speech, I would make the audience applaud and genuinely love every single minute. I decided I would rock the auditorium. Then COVID comes. My commencement turns virtual. I cannot even see the audience. But as a graduating student from the math department, I'm well trained to face the challenges. I won't merely pretend you are laughing sitting at home in front of your computer screens. For me, college days in the math department were more like building something complex from Lego without instructions. My first building attempt took place in Professor DeBacker's office, trying to wave Math 217, linear algebra. I was writing on the board, saying, "I know how to prove this, this, and that." Professor DeBacker sighed deeply with a faint smile. Might be thinking another muggle who thinks she knows it all. I stepped out of his office, having convinced him, and told myself, "I won that one." That is my initial status in this Lego game. A naive player, thinking about skipping levels and jumping ahead as quickly as I could. You know, sometimes when we're young, we're ignorant and confident about everything. But then I regret until I took Math 420. And oh, did I regret skipping some of those classes? The Math department witnesses hundreds of muggles like me every year, and they still care, protect, nurture, and support us, even when we think we know everything. I enjoy playing with Lego, especially when blocks are fitting nicely together. It makes me feel content and calm. Just like when you have solved some calculus problems and you think, I'm so smart, I was born to do math. But sometimes, the Lego manufacturers seem to have made a mistake. You just cannot find the right block. Like when you are stuck on a graph problem for several days, calling mom asking her, is it too late to change my major? Each experience in the math department hands me a Lego block to build my Lego world. I remember some of those blocks as if the experience were just yesterday. I remember these top blocks at 8 o'clock in the morning, since Professor DeBacker with many courses are always the earliest. I remember the 11 p.m. is top blocks when Math 297 students attended their office hours. I remember the piano playing blocks after 5 p.m. in the atrium. Yes, I can hear you wondering how on earth math students can also be musicians. I remember helping pick up a ping pong ball and throwing it back to energetic peers who worked and played hard. I remember attempting to water the small tree beside the piano, noticing a sign saying, please do not water this plant. I remember the blocks of Thursday's math club in Ned's bedroom when there were never enough chairs and students had to sit on the floor. The topics varied, but the pizza and Coke were constant. I remember the bagel Sunday blocks when I always ate an everything bagel while discussing group homework on the board. You could always catch Professor Jeffrey Lagarius grabbing a bagel there. I remember the log M blocks where many of my friends started their research journeys. I can see us standing in front of huge posters and explaining some discoveries we were not that even clear about. I remember the direct reading project blocks when I always thought others' topics seemed more interesting than my own. I remember the excellent comment from one of my male peers at the Women in Mathematics event. I read those papers, maybe not read, just looked at, because I couldn't understand them. I remember the blocks decorated with weekly math missive and lame jokes filling everyone's email box. Some blocks are more directly related to math itself. Thank you, Professor Thomas Lam, for handing me the blocks in combinatorics. Thank you, Professor Kartik Prasanna, for energetically showing us the algebraic structure in number theory. Thank you, Professor Jennifer Wilson. You made one of my friends who loves marine engineering passionate about topology. Every course we took, even if only tangentially related to our future lives, is important in holding together our Lego worlds. East Hall, math events, and faculty, they build this whole math community, which gives me a sense of belonging. This 4-year-long game of Lego has gradually turned me from an impatient player into a Lego victor. Thank you for teaching me how to solve partial differential equations, how to calculate random walk probabilities, how to keep calm when exam problems are extremely difficult, how to stick to our interests, how to fight the dragon of high self-expectations, and how to tolerate roadblocks and move on. Most importantly, thank you for showing us how supportive a community can be. When we grow up, when we get older, we will build different communities all over the world with all the Lego blocks made in UMich math community. I'm generally not good at expressing my emotions, but in this speech, my desire was to tell you, the faculty and my peers in our math community, thank you for showing up in my life, being a fulgent sun in Michigan's winter. Thanks for listening.
Garrett Brown, Jung Chun, Sujay Chung, Joseph Coates, Alyssa Cottons, Emily Caulfield, Chenli Dong, Alexandria Fry, Reed Gordon, Kia Gross, Chinshi Gu, Jiapeng Guo, Furyab He, James Hazelden, Junyi Huang, Selena Chiang, Peiru Kwok, Qian Lin, Yaiwen Lin, Yutsing Liu, Vikram Matthew, Nasser Mohammed, Madhav Nakar, Claire Peng, Emma Pomerantz, Zihui Chi, Zachary Rossman, Matthew Russell, Dylan Schwartz, Christopher Seeger, Luhuan Shen, Tingyu Shi, Monling Teng, Alexander Wang, Danyu Wang, Kenneth Wang, Peng Wang, Stephen Wang, Wenyi Wang, Xiangyan Wang, Jack Williamson, Zhenxi Wu, Jing'ang Zhang, Eddie Zhang, Yimin Zhang, Jiaojialin Zhang, Zaiyi Zhang, Pu Zhao, Tianyi Zhao, Shenyu Zhao, Yanning Zhao, Badr Aldalan, Nikhil Devraj, Hyunsu Do, Bofei Dong, Matthew French, Sin Gao, Isabella Gierlinger, Travis Gerlich, Christopher Hafke, Connor Harwood, Lixian He, Yulin Hu, Jung Ke, Daniel Lee, Morgan Lignell, Brian Liu, Yishin Liu, Joseph Lorenzetti, Kira Linklip, Alan Macaspec, Naya North, Sean Oliver, Molly Patterson, Neil Pajari, Vishnu Reddy, Jitsa Ren, Marissa Rudolph, Sophia Simon, Edward Song, Benjamin Wenzel, Yanshang Xian, Inwan Yan, Andrew Zhou.
A farmer keeps a number of chickens and sheep. He counts and finds that he has 14 heads and 44 feet total. How many chickens and how many sheep are there in this farm? When you hear this problem, you probably set up a system of 2 equations and 2 unknowns in your head. But when we were given this problem in 5th grade, we didn't know how to solve systems of equations, and we were told we're not allowed to just guess and check. But my teacher was able to provide an explanation as to how we can think our way through this problem without the need for a system of equations. This was perhaps one of the first instances when I began to realize the fact that mathematics is more than just memorizing formulas and plugging in numbers. And the sweetness of that little tiny bit of intuition was enough to get me to where I am today. The mathematics department at the University of Michigan, where I've had the absolute pleasure of learning from some of the most phenomenal faculty in the world, alongside some of the brightest and most driven students I've ever met. Dear students, faculty, friends, and family, you're sitting behind your computer screens today to celebrate the achievements of us graduating seniors. Our journey as mathematics students, although fun and fulfilling, has been quite a challenging one. A lot of us have often pulled all-nighters to finish our proofs. A couple of my friends in the math department seem to have learned to photosynthesize, adapting to replace sunlight with coffee. A lot of us started each semester strong and feeling motivated,
but felt like a walking dead towards the end of the semester. I hope I'm not alone in experiencing that whenever a non-academic person asks me about my major, a femtosecond after hearing the word math, they are impressed. But then, on their own, they come to the conclusion that I couldn't possibly have any reason to major in mathematics other than to become an elementary school teacher. And that's when you start to see a look of disappointment in their eyes, as if they kind of feel bad for me that I didn't go for a field that would yield a higher salary or something that would be more useful in life. So, what has come out of our efforts during the last few years at Michigan? I believe that by studying mathematics, we didn't just learn how to count the number of handshakes at a party, or the proof of the inverse function theorem, or why 6 was afraid of 7. Of course, to an untrained person, these problems might seem completely pointless to think about. But through these very problems, we learned how to think. We learned how to tackle an insanely challenging looking problem, having nothing but basic tools and definitions in our hands. Math teaches us resilience. We learned that it's okay to fail, and fail again before we succeed. We learned to be logical and to think outside the box, outside the very box of formulas, assumptions, and claims that we were inevitably forced to accept without justification earlier in our education. We learned not to be satisfied with what we've been told is true until we ourselves have gained intuition about its veracity. These are pretty useful life skills if you ask me, and I am by no means claiming that we have mastered these valuable skills entirely, at least I know that I haven't. But I think it's safe to say that we've successfully begun to scratch the surface. And quite contrary to popular belief, I think something that makes mathematics distinct from any other subject I know is that we don't necessarily study math to become mathematicians or even math teachers, as most people assume. We study math to become lawyers, physicians, computer scientists, life scientists, engineers, philosophers, sociologists, economists, and many more. Most importantly, and I think my peers would agree when I say this, the more I studied mathematics, the more it became clear to me that mathematics is absolutely beautiful, profound, and simply mind-blowing. And it's definitely become clear to me that mathematics in its true sense is anything but the rigid and dry SOHCAHTOAs that most people perceive math to be. As Maryam Mirzakhani, the first and to date the only woman to have won the Fields Medal, said, "The beauty of mathematics only shows itself to more patient followers." Now, I'm not saying that everyone should study mathematics, but I do wish more people were fortunate enough to see the awesomeness that we have. And this brings me to the highlight of my address. Most of us are here today because we've had at least one teacher in our lives who's been able to help us have that aha moment. A teacher who made that math spark happen. And let's be honest, we would be nowhere near where we are today if it weren't for the wonderful teachers and professors we've had during our time at Michigan and also before. Professors who've worked with us patiently, tirelessly, and enthusiastically to ensure not just our academic success, but also to convey to us their intuition and their passion for mathematics. We can never thank them enough for their efforts, but I do hope that our future success will serve as a small token of our appreciation for them. Lastly, I know that our last year's experience here at Michigan has been less than ideal. We've missed interacting with each other in person in the math department. We've missed the crooked and wiggly tables in the common area. And most of all, we've missed the cookies during tea time, which I learned were only for graduate students and faculty way too late. But nevertheless, our time at Michigan has come to an end, bringing with itself all sorts of mixed emotions. But knowing that we'll forever cherish our time here and the friendships we've made, I'll end by saying, congratulations, class of 2021, and go blue.
Katrina Adrian, Bandar Aldalan, Haley Atkins, Manzoor Bakere, Samuel Beanstalk, Aaron Benenson, Zoha Barwani, Charles Butts, Madison Carey, Nighty Carmen, Gavin Carpenter, Alexander Chepo, Fangu Chen, Haoyang Chen, Junshan Chen, Yushuen Chen, ZK Chen, Pablo Cisneros, Sabrina Corsetti, Heishen Tsui, Matthew Cunningham, Yutsa Dai, Parmana Duverminish, Jennifer Davidi, Marion De Brito, Adam D. Hollander, Isaac Deng, Wenhan Deng, Wenhao Deng, Joseph Donato, Zhenyi Dong, Rui Dong, Yu Dong, Chase Everett, Chenshi Fan, Go Fan, Kira Fishman, James Thirst, Cyan Ghosh, Seth Greenfield, Mingyu Guo, Jacob Hall, Skylar Hart, Nicholas Riscos, Jesse Hames, Jake Hygas, Jason Herbst, Kiro Loroshenko, Benjamin Iorio, Zekun Jia, Jinshi Jing, Kelsey Jordan, Charles Cantor, Eric Kipnis, Andrew Kitane, Ishpreet Kohli, Marius Kongsor, Max Kotarski, Jacob Kowalczyk, Youngwoo Kwan, Samit Lamba, Jinyi Lon, Robert Larice, Jacob Lentz, Ong Lee, Benchen Lee, Gavin Lee, Sichi Lee, Shui Lee, Yilin Lee, Inhao Lee, Shihao Liang, Justin Liss, Jacob Liu, Jikun Liu, Yuyang Liu, Billy Liu, Michael Liu, Yiling Liu, Noah Lunslero, Seishuan Luo, Gioran Ma, Enric Martinez Fernandez, Shayna Mason, John McCartney, Neil Meehan, Joseph Manella, Hannah Moon, Justin Moore, Armin Movishian, Margaret Nemekis, Austin Nevitt, Gianon Ni, Marissa O'Gara, Maggie O'Mara, Vijay Patel, Robert Perry, Ramana Ramanathan, Sijian Ron, Christopher Rose, Raviv Sarch, Paige Schulten, Ari Schwartz, Hanisa Shamsuddin, Jacob Sheridan, Cindy Shi, Omar Siddiqui, Trey Smith, Maxwell Stauffer, Yichung Su, Mason Swin, Minhao Swin, Awesome Swaden, Matthew Soromi, Alan Tong, Alexander Tuharski, Faustus Udrenis, Alexander Vidinis, Pranav Vijay, Jiamu Wang, Mary Wong, Ruilin Wong, Shenhua Wong, Sehua Wong, Jukun Wong, Zuchi Wong, Zilu Wong, Zishuan Wong, Zuyue Wong, Yishuan Wei, Naicheng Wu, Chenwei Wu, Songting Wu, Xian Wu, Juwei Xiao, Wanchao Xu, Chao Peter Yong, Jiajin Yong, Nicole Yong, Jushuan Yong, Zion Yong, Amanda Yao, Yuanchun Ye, Jiaoshen Ying, Jinhui Yo, Ilana Young, Fangzhou Yu, Maya Yu, Shuyan Yu, Mingshua Zhang, Shuyang Zhang, Tianhu Zhang, Xuyan Zhang, Ella Zhang, Yupan Zhang, Yuan Zhang, Xujian Zhang, Xi Zhang, Yaojing Jiao, Sai Zhong, Shihao Zhou, Rongqing Zhu, Kashyap Adunki, Axel Ahitov, Anmal Anand, Tongshu Bai, John Bandon, Jack Barlow, Sarah Bashir, Matthew Blishke, Alec Brandel, Melissa Bray, Annie Casham, Mingju Tsai, Jordan Cherio, Dylan Chalkley, Maya Chamra, Derek Chan, Kylie Chan, Emily Chen, Eric Chen, Gongyu Chen, Tainan Chen, Yufei Chen, Suryang Chen, Yichi Chung, Matthew Chesser, William Chown, Allison Cohen, Abigail Coleman, John Cooney, Noah Cooper, John Corio, Joshua Corsello, Alex Daly, Hirsch Desai, Nandita Desikan, Yong Du, Sydney Erickson, Weishen Feng, Ben Finkelstein, Jared Fishman, Justin Flanagan, Jacob Florian, Jeffrey Gao, Runyu Gao, Sarah Garcia, Joshua Goldstein, David Golm, Trevor Gravely, Bella Gribov, Ruben Gutman, Glenn Hagen, Hunter Harloff, Leah Harris, Laura Hattar, Ibrahim Haidar, Yifai He, Sayu He, Nicholas Healy, Matthew Henricks, Nicholas Hoyer, Huiche Cao, Lin Huo, Corolla Johnson, Kyle Johnson, Aaron Karaslan, David Kim, Brock Kleinhexel, Alexei Kovanin, Kevin Kradich, Shubhang Krishna, Yua Kwong, Evan Kumar, Madhav Kumar, Meda Kumar, John Landy, Jiachi Lei, Weijia Liu, Haoqing Lu, Felix Louis, Seichao Ma. Blake Martin, Connor Martin, Donata Mestopietro, Nicholas Maton, Will McKelgan, Jason Meisel, James Millaville, Ankita Mohapatru, Eric Musa, Alan Noble, Benjamin Ustendorp, Junho Park, Anne Perpich, Alexander Reistrick, Arjun Rajan, Samuel Recksteiner, Eric Rakoff, Sarah Rokap, Mateo Sanchez, Eowyn Sansevero, Quinn Chabelle, Disha Shaw, Griffin Sharkey, Dean Hao Shen, Xingyuan Shen, Ellie Simon, Jacob Solomon, Edward Sun, Shi Tai, Owen Talmadge, Bennett Tierney, Jessica Tenor, Yuyue Tu, Nolan Vaughn, David Ventresca, Anjali Vias, Caetano Wagner, Ruobing Wang, Sue Wang, Yisun Wang, Alexander Wei, Claire Vey, Grant Weldon, Eric Windland, Eric Wu, Tsu-Wei Xiong, Jacob Boyoung Hsu, Mengjing Hsu, Jacob Yatsvitsky, Michael Ying, Benjamin Young, Brian Young, Amanda Zhang, Chuyue Zhang, Haomeng Zhang, Sheng-En Zhang, Yi Zhang, Jinting Zhao, Jiayuan Zheng, Jingnan Zheng, Yangshuying Zhou, Antong Zhu, Yimin Zhu.
Dear fellow students, faculty, family, and friends. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whichever is applicable to your time zone. I hope you are all doing well and enjoying this graduation season. When I was taking 295 with Professor Stephen DeBacker in my sophomore year, one day, my advisor asked me, "How is your math class going?" And I told him, "You know what? My professor needs to keep telling jokes to make the lecture alive." However, that is not the whole truth. Mathematicians really have the talent of making everything difficult. So often, the jokes are harder than the math, and they are only adding difficulties to the class. But nevertheless, Stephen's strategy is successful, because after seeing his jokes, the math seems to be much more reasonable and understandable. Well, despite the awkwardness of not getting Stephen's jokes, the class was overall very interesting, so I declared a math major. And I found out that the math department is one of the most supportive and lively communities at the University of Michigan. Of course, if you have 3 homework every week, each of which is longer than a normal paper in your upper-level writing class, you are gonna cooperate and support each other in order to survive. We can see that the university is really considerate by letting the math department share the East Hall with the psychology department, because whenever some psychology person wants to study the relation between stress and the level of cooperation, there is no need to launch an expensive experiment at all. Just walk to the math common area at midnight, and you're done. But joking aside, I really feel strong belongingness that I never find anywhere else outside the math department. And all my best friends in my undergraduate life are math students. To us, math is not only a major, but also a lifestyle that brings us together. We study cooperatively, share the food, hang out together on weekends, and keep up with the same fashion trend of the latest design of our math t-shirts. However, this doesn't mean that the community of mathematics is exclusive. Instead, math people passionately take social responsibility and contribute to various departmental outreach activities. I want to especially mention that Professor Sarah Cook is leading free math programs for underprivileged middle school students. Those students are sensitive, lack of confidence, but excellent people, and all they need in order to succeed is just a little bit of attention and encouragement. So I sincerely encourage everyone who is not graduating this year to check out those cool programs and help out if you are interested. And I can assure you that working in those programs is going to be a very unique and meaningful experience. I am really grateful to math because it makes me meet so many great people. Here I want to thank all the professors who taught me, all the friends who supported me, as well as our most helpful administrative staff who are always responsive and make everything, including this commencement ceremony, happen. I would like to especially thank Professor Andreas Bloch and Zach Norwood, who introduced me to logic, which I will continue studying. To my fellow students, the class of 2021, congratulations on your achievements. Starting from here, we will follow different career paths, but I know that we will all have bright futures. The world is waiting for us to explore, just like we explored math in our undergraduate years. And we will all remember the amazing faculty, the intriguing classes, the days we struggled at East Hall, and the fact that we are always supported by the department and each other. Thank you.
Wei-Yun Chen, Andrew Gattis, Xingjian Ma, Renji Shao, Emily Wagaman, Yichen Zhao, Ziyuan Zhao, Unkith Bhargava, Ryan Hosseini, Jianmeng Liu, Mackenzie Moorhead, Wu Zhao Zhong.
When the opportunity first came about to speak here at graduation, I didn't think I was a great candidate. I didn't think I was smart enough or had exceeded enough in all my math classes, or that I was qualified to represent the department. I assumed I had to be the embodiment of an impeccable math student to be worthy of speaking to or for anyone here. And I think that feeds into a misconception about math people that I've never seemed to fit. Often, people erroneously assume that math people have to be of supreme intelligence, and that they never falter or fail, that they don't mess up on an assignment or an exam, and frankly, that they lack social skills. Through my experience at the University of Michigan's math department, I've realized that most of my peers don't fit within those categorical confines either. However, I've realized what is actually true about math majors. We're not infallible. I know everyone in this room, or should I say on this live stream, has failed. You've ended up on the low end of a curve on an exam, or you've struggled to get through those gateway assessments we used to have to take at the math lab, or you felt like the least intelligent person in the room. But what truly makes you a math major is what you do after you inevitably fail, and the people who help you get back up to try again. You'd think that a group of incredibly intelligent people with low social prowess would be wholly self-reliant, but it is within the math department that I have felt a sense of academic community that is unrivaled. These misconceptions about what a theoretical math person is deterred me from pursuing a math degree in the first place. When I started college, a math major was never the plan. I figured I would get a degree in something that would be easy for me, and that I would cruise my way through college with a relatively unblemished GPA and having seldomly encountered academic hardships. However, as a freshman with insufficient direction and the obligation to fill up my schedule, I enrolled in Calc 1. Math was always something I aimlessly enjoyed in high school and something I was moderately good at, so I figured, why not? And somehow, after taking Calc 1, I decided to take Calc 2, as that was just the next class sequentially and thus a logical successor. And then Calc 2 became Calc 3, and soon enough I was in East Hall declaring a math major and eagerly awaiting procuring my first math t-shirt. I now have one in every color and too many to count. There was something about my math courses that just kept me enrolling in the next one. They were inexplicably the most enjoyable. The painstakingly difficult material was somehow an integral part of the fun. I love how I always felt challenged in my math courses, and how my mind was consistently engaged. And there's no feeling like finally understanding a concept, or eventually reaching the end of a difficult proof. While simultaneously being the most challenging, the need to persevere through the strenuous material allowed humor and fun to be our reprieve. I had affable professors who juxtaposed confusing lessons with laughter and jokes, and who were always there to reassure me of my abilities whenever I felt discouraged. I had people in my classes who were just as lost as I was, but who were always willing to try to find our way together. One of my first introductions to this notion was linear algebra. Remember that class? The one everyone told you to fear and haunts you still? It was quite the tribulation, but the IBL format forced me to struggle through it with the other people in my class, to rely on one another, and to build off of each other's knowledge. I remember I had a study group that would meet every time we had an assignment for that class, and we laboriously made our way through those problems. But we did it together, while concurrently laughing and making meaningful memories. Occasionally, we'd stay at the fishbowl until 5 or 6 a.m. Frankly, I think it's within those hours that a math person truly thrives. From then on, I realized that I treasure collaborating with others, and that there truly is such a robust community in this math department. I've made friends in my classes, and together we would struggle through homework assignments. I've spent time with an incredible group of people who spent their Monday mornings volunteering at Ypsilanti Middle School. I've stopped by Professor Cook's office to ask a quick question and stayed and chatted for 3 hours. I've watched people volunteer up their time to help out at the math court without even knowing what they were signing up for. I've walked into the doors at East Hall and been comforted by the fact that there's always someone making beautiful music on the piano or playing a little ping pong. And without fail, I've never walked back out those doors without seeing someone I knew who always said hi. I truly would not be here today, graduating, if it wasn't for the educators I've had the privilege to learn from and the peers who did it alongside of me. As we graduate and move on from this program, these are the lessons that I hope we take into the world. Math doesn't just exist on the pages of a textbook or in the words of a proof or the symbols of a formula, but exists. Not just exists, but thrives between people. And that we are going to fail. We're going to mess up in one way or another. But I think throughout my time in the undergraduate math department that I've been equipped with the skills to get through these failures and come back even stronger. Because that is the true hallmark of a math person, that we always get back on our feet. Thank you.
So 2004, that was my second year at Michigan, and I happened to be in charge of math club that year. The students who were in math club decided that the department really needed to have a t-shirt. And so they formed a committee and solicited designs, and this design that you see on the shirt here is the one that won. It was actually made by Hui-Fong Lim. And the only thing that's changed over all these years is that the university officially changed its name from University of Michigan to the University of Michigan, but otherwise the design is identical. It's a very elegant design, and it's pretty amazing where this shirt pops up in the world. Hui-Fong Lim, she went on to have a brilliant career as an actuary, and she's currently at Lloyd's of London in England. She is the kind of alum that we really appreciate. When we send out a call asking, for example, for people to help us out with the virtual career panel, she's always among the first to say that, if the timing is good for her, she will be there. I encourage you, as you transition from your life as an undergraduate at Michigan to life outside of Michigan as an alum to remember us. We really enjoy hearing from you. Go out with your t-shirt and take some pictures in the wonderful places that you'll visit after this pandemic thing is done. And also, if we need some help serving our current undergraduates by hosting a career conference, or maybe even having you come back for the actual career conference, please do consider coming back and helping us out. We really appreciate it. Other ways you can help out if you're local, every Monday we go over to Ypsilanti Middle School. We have math corps during the summer, and there's all kinds of outreach opportunities to use your math skills to do good in the world that the university runs. And if you're not local, we do know people kind of around the country, and we could set you up with somebody. Other ways you can help, of course, include financial support. So, for example, when you go through Math 217, there is the proof tutoring, the kill-up tutors, right? Those people that you would meet in the upper atrium, and they would sit down with you for 10 or 15 minutes and go over your homework and help you figure out which way was up when you were, learning how to write mathematics. That's all donor supported. That doesn't come from tuition dollars. So if you want to support things like that, if you want to see the undergraduate experience continue to be a good one, please do consider giving money back to the university. So as you leave the university, you're joining a very distinguished group of alums. University of Michigan alums have done pretty much everything. So here's two examples. So this year, or maybe it was 2020, and Paul Milgram, who was a math major who graduated from the University of Michigan in 1970, won the Nobel Memorial Prize in Economics. Not too shabby. As another example, Karen Uhlenbeck, who graduated from the University of Michigan in 1964 as a math major, 2 years ago, I believe now, won the Abel Prize, which is one of the most distinguished prizes that you can win in pure mathematics. Both of these alumni are, of course, very distinguished, but there are plenty of others, and you are now joining their ranks. By the way, one interesting thing about Paul Milgram, if you want to learn about what he was like when he was an undergraduate at Michigan, then you should Google or DuckDuckGo or whatever search engine you use the words UMich student activist Paul Milgram. So this year, there are 221 or so math majors graduating and going off to join Uhlenbeck and Milgram as alums. And there's about 181 or so minors graduating from the math department. So all told, there's a little over 400 students, undergraduate students, that are leaving us this year. Your years at Michigan have been, very challenging, but you've also succeeded and you've come to the end of this part of your journey. And so I think it's appropriate that everyone turn to their undergraduate, wherever you are virtually, and, congratulate them and offer them some applause. On the other hand, students, this leg of your journey that you just completed would not have been possible without your support network of friends and family and others who have been there to support you. They've supported you financially, they've supported you psychologically, they've supported you mathematically and emotionally and in all kinds of other ways. So it is now your turn to turn to them and thank them and, maybe offer them a round of applause as well. So I believe that this marks the end of our commencement ceremony for this year. So I wish you the best of luck as you go out into the world, and go blue. Oh, back for another joke. So I'll give you two. So what do you call recycled calculus jokes? Derivatives. And speaking of recycled calculus jokes, here is my favorite calculus joke of all time. So, e to the x and constant function, they're sitting in a bar, catching up on old times, talking about their families, the usual. And all of a sudden, constant function, his face shows sheer terror, and e to the x says, well, what's up, constant function? And constant function says, it's a differential operator, he just came in through the door. If he sees me, he's going to kill me. And e to the x says, well, I really don't have that problem, but I understand that it could be a problem for you, so why don't you run on outside and be safe. So e to the x, he's feeling pretty cocky, and he bellies up to the bar right next to the differential operator, and he says, hey, I'm e to the x. And differential operator turns and looks at him and says, oh, nice to meet you. I'm d by dy. So, good luck with your futures, and go blue.